Good morning. Hi everyone. Welcome to the webinar on A to Z of IAS exam. I am Kamaraj on behalf of Kamaraj IAS Academy. Say, the object of this webinar is to give a basic idea about what the IAS exam is about. Actually, the word IAS exam is being used colloquially. So the proper term to be used is civil service examination. And this webinar is particularly addressed to the freshers, that is the college passed out or the students who are in the final year of their college or people from other career who want to pursue civil service as their career. This seminar or this webinar is going to give you a basic idea about what the civil service examination is about, the method, the nature, as well as the scope of the examination, what to study, or what to do, or what not to do. Say, in this period of COVID lockdown, of course, so the entire world is going through a lot of crisis. But we have a future and we have a vision. You cannot put your life at stake, right? And we have to move on to the next stage. Of course, there is going to be an end. Soon the crisis will be over and you have to come back to your normal and routines. Say, in such scenario, it is hard for the people as well as the UPSC aspirants to come out and physically reach us. So, instead of physically reaching us, I thought of reaching you or connecting to you through the internet. So, this webinar. Actually, this is supposed to be a live webinar which is scheduled to be held on 27th April, 10:30 a.m. But since I live in Chennai, the Chennai Corporation and district authorities have gone for a complete lockdown from 26th April to 29th April. So, it is not possible for me to reach live with you. So, what I thought was, I am going to reach you on the scheduled time, that is 27th April, 10:30 a.m. by means of a pre-recorded video. So, this can be watched in our YouTube channel as well as in our Facebook Live. Since this seminar is scheduled to be a 1-hour webinar, so I don't want to eat much of your time. So, I will directly come to the webinar. Yes. The subject matter of this webinar is about A to Z of IAS exam. I put it A to Z of IAS exam. Of course, I am going to show you some PowerPoint presentation also, but mostly I want to take it session very lively. And if you have any doubts regarding this live session, you can reach us through our email or through a WhatsApp number or a Telegram number. So, in our website query, chat box or anything, available means, right? So, now coming to this thing. A to Z of IAS exam. As I said already, the word IAS, so of course, it brings goosebump, right? And it is a mantra for the civil service aspirant. Say IAS officer, of course, right? The name as well as the career carries much weightage, right? And it is a pretty good honor to be an IAS officer. Say, many of you have the question, how to become an IAS officer? What should I do to become an IAS officer? Yes. So, here is the answer. First of all, I talk about IAS. So, we call it as Indian Administrative Service. Say, this name itself, as I said, is colloquially used as IAS exam. Actually, the proper name to be used is Civil Services. So, actually, it is Civil Service Examination. We call it as CSE, which is conducted by the Union Public Service Commission of India, a statutory organization. And it's also an autonomous body. So, the civil services. Why do you call it as civil services? Of course, now if you watch out all the TV channels, you can find out our ministers as well as secretaries and many of the IAS officers addressing the public. You know, in the hours of crisis, right, how the administration is geared up in meeting towards or right, so meeting up the challenge. So here lies the importance of the administration. Say this civil services is about right the recruitment to topmost posts in all departments of the government machinery. Say it is not only about IAS. Actually, the civil services consists of nearly about 25 services. Say here, the services can be classified as All India services, foreign service, as well as central services. Say for information, I say that not everyone who clears this examination will become an IAS officer. So actually, depending on the marks as well as the rank and your category, that is OC, OBC or SC, ST, right, you will be assigned, right, ranks as well as the service allotment. So which means that, right, IAS exam consists of nearly about 25 services, of which India services are two, IAS and IPS, that is Indian Administrative Service and Indian Police Service. Then we have IFS, Indian Foreign Service. Then we have a lot of Group A services as well as Group B services, so which come under central services. Say for example, IRS, Indian Revenue Services, so which will be in IT, that is income tax, as well as in customs and excise. And we have Indian Audit and Account Service. So, and we have Indian Postal Service. Similarly, in Group B service, we have Pondicherry Civil Service, so that is the DANIP service, and Pondicherry Police Service, like this. So, this civil service examination is about all the topmost posts in all the departments of India. Right. So, but for our purposes and colloquially we call it IAS exam or IAS. Right. So, therefore, one thing is clear that first of all, aspirant need to know that this is a civil service examination and there is a lot of civil services. Right. And I explained why the civil services are important. Actually, say it gives us an opportunity to serve the nation. We call it as services. Say in any government job, we say it's not government job, we say government service. So here the government is for servicing the people. So in private sector, you never call it as a private service. You never call it as a private, right, service. That is, you call it as a private job. Whereas here, you call it as government service, which means that, right, you are going to serve the nation. You are going to serve the people. So it gives an opportunity to serve, right, the nation as well as people. Of course. And for this, you are going to be paid. Of course. So after the 7th pay commission, say you are being paid. Handsome pay, I would say. So where civil servant, a Group A officer, so can attract at least around some 90,000 rupees as a salary. So, and it is true for all government services where even in a Group B service, so you will be getting around, right, 60 to 70,000. So which means that, right, you have been given an opportunity to serve the nation with a handsome package. And apart from it, the power and perks attached to these services. Of course, you carry a prestige in the society, and so it is a dream for many of us to achieve. Now, I come to the next thing. What about these civil services? How can I want or how can I get into this services? So I would say that, right, having explained how many services are there and what are the services, I would say that the next condition is, right, who can take the examination? Say for which I would say that the eligibility conditions. So who are all eligible to take this examination? We call it as eligibility. Of course, to be in government serving, the first eligibility condition is that you should be a citizen of India. Yes, you are a citizen. Then, what is the education qualification? So some people still have some misperception about it. Only a lot of learned people can take this examination. So I would say that it is not so. The eligibility condition for appearing this examination is any degree, any undergraduate degree. I would say a UG degree is enough. So what is UG degree? Say it would be in the pattern of 10 plus 2 plus 3 or 10 plus 2 plus 4 or 10 plus 2 plus 5. That is, you are going to take your secondary examination, then the higher secondary, then an undergraduate degree. So which may be a science or arts degree, an engineering degree or a medicine degree. That is, even the art student as well as the professional students can take the examination. Only thing is that it should be in the pattern of 10 plus 2 plus 3. Say, you might have a doubt. What if I have done my graduation through other informal systems? Say for example, the Open University. So Indira Gandhi National Open University. So actually, right, even the degree holders from Open University can take the examination provided they have completed their degree after 10 plus 2. That is, you should have completed a 10th class first, then the 12th and then the UG degree. So therefore here, yes, the degree is also eligible. But if you are going to take the Open University directly without going for the higher secondary, then it is not eligible. So therefore, whatever the pattern of study may be, it should be 10 plus 2 plus 3. So having clear about the educational qualification, we are going to the next thing. So it's about the age criteria. So what should be the age? Actually, the age as well as the attempts vary from category to category. So for government services and for educational purposes, our government has gone for reservation policy, and for which it has categorized and classified the people into some 4 categories. Say OC, it is open competition, right? Or can say FC, forward category. Then OBC, other backward classes. Then scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes. So the minimum age for all the categories to appear is going to be 21 years. Yes, it is going to be 21 years. Anyone who have completed the UG degree or anyone who have written the examination or is waiting the final semester and waiting for the result, and who is going to complete 21 years of age by 1 August, that is August of this year or that year, right? So is eligible to appear for the examination. And the maximum age limit one can have is, say here, it is 32, 35 and 37 for both AC and ST. So which means that, right, a OC candidate can take the examination up to 32 years of age, and an OBC candidate up to 35 years of age, and SC/ST candidate up to 37 years of age. Say this minimum and maximum age, which means that you can come into preparation in between this years of your age. Say what if I am 25 years old, I have finished my college, laid back, whether I have an opportunity? Yes, of course, because, right, till 32 years you can take the examination, till 35 years you can take the examination. Even working professionals, a lot of working professionals, right, are coming out from the private sector and become a civil servant, right? Now, whether I have been, so I will be allowed to take the examination from 21 to 32, from 21 to 35, so that may be a next question, for which I would say that the UPSC also comes with another criteria, that is age plus attempt. That is the number of attempt that is going to count. So how many attempts are there? Say here, the thing is, for OC candidate you will have 6 attempts, and for OBC candidate you will have 9 attempts, and for SC/ST I would say some 21 to 37. So we have, right, so it is not limited, I would say unlimited. That is, to put it arithmetically it will be 16. Now, I say that there is an attempt criteria. What if I am going to start my preparation only by 28 years of age, and I am an OBC candidate? What I am going to do? Yes, of course, right? I have 9 attempts. But if I start my preparation by 28, I am going to appear by 28. 28 and 37, there is only 7 years left, which means that my attempts are restricted to 7 attempts. See here, the point is that age, that is maximum age or maximum attempt, whichever is less. That has to be the thing. So, for OC as well as OBC, there is a criteria that either it should be 35 years of age or 9 attempts. Either it should be 32 years of age or 6 attempts, whichever is less. So, here that means that if I start my preparation by 21 years, so I didn't make through and it will be over by 20 or 29 years, then it's end of the story. So that's why I say that, right, one should be careful about their attempts and careful about their preparation. So you should not jump into this examination without understanding the system. So that is the purpose of this seminar, right? Say, to give a proper understanding of how the system works. Now, having understood the eligibility conditions about the age, educational qualification, then about the attempts, we move on to the next thing. So, that is the plan of examination. Say, if you are already finished your college, or you are in the final year of college, or you are a working professional who satisfies this criteria which I explained, you can come for this examination. So, what this examination is about? So, actually I say that this examination preparation is quite different from other preparation. Of course, it is a mother of all competitive examinations in India. I won't say it is tough, but this examination is meant for smart people. Say what a smart people means. That is, yes, so there is no equivalence for hard work. Hard work definitely pays, but apart from hard work, one should put their smart work here. So that is a planned and a strategic preparation. So for which you have to understand the scheme of the examination. Say, one should put on at least 1.5 years of their solid time for preparation here. So you will see how these things works out. Say, we'll explain about the plan of examination. What this plan of examination is about. Say, actually, if you look at the plan of examination, say the UPC, I said, the UPSC conducts this examination and how and when it is going to be conducted. So, first step is that there comes a notification for the examination. A notification. When the notification comes, say for example, so this year already the examination, the prelims examination is scheduled to be held on this May 31st. So I would say that this examination consists of 2 parts, a preliminary part and a main part. The main part also includes the personality test. So to put it simply, there are 3 stages in this examination. One has to clear all the 3 stages if you have to get into the service. That is the preliminary stage, the main stage, then the personality test. Say the final or rank will be arrived by taking into consideration the mains mark you scored as well as the interview mark you scored. So, which means that, right? So, the mains and personality test is an integrated part. And number of attempts, you might be wondering, why so many number of attempts? Say, many of the people, so doesn't make into the service in the very first attempt. Of course, I said, it is the mother of all competitive examinations. The first timers who make into this service in the very first attempt is only 2%. And that too, not everyone will become an IAS officer. They may end up with some Group A services or something like that. Therefore, to improve their service, so they have to write it again. Similarly, some people have cleared the prelims but not the mains. So, that is the interview part. Again, they have to take. Some people have gone up to the mains part. Some people have missed the prelims part itself. Therefore, here, wherever you missed, you have to start afresh again from the prelims part. Say last year I went to the interview, but I didn't get the service. So what can I do? Will be directly be going for the interview then? No. Say, even if you get into the service, even if you missed out to the interview, right, you have to start again from the preliminary examination. Each and every year there will be a prelims examination which you have to clear, then the mains examination, and then the personality test part. So therefore, right, this is the reason why the UPSC comes with the number of attempts. Now again coming back, right. So when this examination is scheduled to be held, and this year I said the CALFAR for this 2020 came on February, and the prelims is going to be scheduled to be held on May 31, and we have to wait what the UPSC is going to do, right. So after this lockdown, and then the mains is scheduled to be held on September. So its result will be expected on the February of 2021, and we have to get the result of the 2019 examination. Actually, it should be over by April first week, but due to this corona lockdown, so the interview is postponed for some of the candidates, and maybe, right, so the results will be a little bit later. So what we now is, you are going to take the examination next year, that is for 2021, I would say. Then what one has to do? Say, what one have to do is notification. The notification for 2021 will come in the month of February 2021. So here comes the notification. Then you have to apply for it, and the March or some date in March will be the cutoff date for the last date for application, and then the preliminary examination which will be held on the May last week or June first week, for which if you have cleared, the results will be declared by the month of July. Then there will be a mains examination in the month of September or October, for which the results will be declared, that is the interview part. You will be called for an interview the month of Feb or March. Now you see, the notification is on February, then the interview is on next, that is I would say it will be in 2022. A solid 1 year schedule, which means that, right, if you are applying for this February 2021, then you should have prepared before that. So that is why we say that, right, if you are going to take the examination by 2021, you have to start your preparation 1 year ahead. That is by, so that is the examination will be on May or June next year, that is 2021. So for this, you are going to start your preparation by May or June 2020. A solid 1 year preparation which will see you through all these stages of examination. So therefore, the plan of examination is about nearly 1 year, and the preparation you start ahead. So it is more than 1.5 years. So you should put your solid preparation here to get into the services, right? This is about the plan of examination. Then I had come to the next thing, the stages of examination. Since I say prelims, mains and interview, I am going to come to the stages of examination. So what about the stages? Say the stages will be like this. Say, let me go for a PowerPoint here. Say the first stage is the preliminary. One who clears this examination will be called for the next stage, the mains. Say, I will explain the scheme of things, right? Say, suppose we assume that there are 1,000 vacancies that called for. Let me take it as 1,000. Now, how these vacancies are filled? Through the 3 stages of examination. Say there are many people taking the examination. So lakhs and lakhs of people, of which the UPSC has a standard formula. How many people will qualify for the mains? Say the preliminary examination is an objective type examination. I'll explain it, right? So before that I'll give a brief. Subject type examination, and the mains examination is a descriptive type. So therefore, the UPSC has no point in allowing each and everyone to write the mains examination. Therefore, the preliminary examination is a qualifying examination where, right, it is going to pick out a certain number of people. Suppose if the number of vacancies is 1000, then the UPSC will take, that is 1:13 is the ratio it will take. So 1000 into 13, 13,000 people for the mains. Then, not everyone who have written the mains will be called for the personality test. That is, the personality test will be in the form of 1:2.7. That is, 2.7% per every vacancy. So that makes it to 2,700 people. Therefore, out of the 2,700 people who were called for interview, the mains plus the interview marks, right, were put together, and a final list will be arrived. Out of this 2,700 people, only 1,000 people are going to be selected based on their marks, based on their category, that is OC, OBC, SC and ST. So this is right. Now again, coming to the preliminary stage. What this preliminary stage is? So here I think a PowerPoint would be a better explanation for this thing, right? So the first, what this preliminary examination is about? I would say the first stage of prelims examination consists of 2 papers. So what are they? So 1 minute. Yes. So here I'll explain. This is the first stage. The examination shall comprise of 2 compulsory papers of 200 marks each. We call it as GS paper 1, that is, it has 2 parts, GS and CSAT paper. GS is nothing but General Studies. It is General Studies. And there will be a CSAT paper, Civil Service Aptitude Test. So 2 papers compulsory of 200 marks each, and both the questions will be of objective type, that is multiple choice questions, right? And the medium in which the questions will be set up is English and Hindi only, not in other regional languages. It is only in English and Hindi. So again, this marks, one has to score marks in each paper, and that marks forms the basis for selection to the mains. So of which I said there are 2 papers in GS, GS1 and GS2. GS1 is about General Studies and GS2 is about CSAT, I say Civil Service Aptitude Test. This Civil Service Aptitude Test is a qualifying paper. That is, only if you qualify GS2, your GS paper 1 will be valued and you will be selected for the mains. And the minimum qualifying marks for the GS2, that is the CSAT paper, is 33% or 67 marks out of 200. I will go into the syllabus and explain this thing. So after this slide, right? Then in both the papers, so GS1 as well as GS2, we have 2 hours duration and 200 marks each, and 1/3 will be the negative marks. So for each question you are going to make wrong, you will be deducted 1/3 marks from the marks you are already scored, right? So this is what makes the examination a trickier one and tougher one, right? So now the paper 1, let us see what is in the paper 1. So paper 1, there are 100 questions, each carrying 2 marks. So it is 200 marks. So what are the syllabus? So actually the UPSC comes with a defined syllabus. So what is it about? Current events of national and international importance, history of India and Indian national movement, India and world geography, Indian polity and governance, economic and social development, then general issues on environment and ecology. Then the UPSC says that, you look at the last line, right? The questions will be of such a nature there, right? So here general issues, right, that do not require a specialization of general science. That do not require specialization of general science. So it's not going to go into the theoretical part. It is going to go into the applied part. So, which means that, say, one has to be aware, generally aware of what is happening around us. So that's what makes the examination a specialized one. So even though there is a prescribed syllabus, right, but still you cannot limit the questions to one book or to one particular topic. So which is generalized. So 100 into 2, 200 marks, and only the marks you are going to get in this paper alone is going to count. So which means that, right, so here this GS paper 1 is the primary paper, and as I said, GS2 is only a qualifying nature. So if you look at the syllabus of the GS2, that is CSAT, we call it as Civil Service Aptitude Test. What it will be like? Paper 2, 80 questions into 2.5 marks each, which again makes up to 200, where you have units like, or topics like comprehension, that is English comprehension or Hindi comprehension, interpersonal skills including communication skills, logical reasoning, analytical ability, decision making skills. So of course, being a civil servant is not easy. So the UPSC is testing your analytical and decision making capability right from the preparation stage itself, right? So therefore, decision making and problem solving, general mental ability, basic numeracy up to 10th level. So inference we are going to draw. This is about the paper 2, and this is only a qualifying paper. So the marks obtained in this paper won't be counted for qualifying mains. It is a qualifying paper for the preliminary. That is, only if you qualify, get 67% or 67 marks in this paper out of 200, your GS paper 1 will be valued. So that's it, right? So it is again a pre-qualifying paper for the prelims. Then, if you look at the sample questions here, say in preliminary examination, General Studies 1, the nature of questions asked. Say this is a question already asked in the UPSC, maybe from 2015 or 16, I think so, right? The question, on which of the following can you find the Bureau of Energy Efficiency star label? Of course, you can see the refrigerator, AC and other electronic equipments, you have household articles, so where you can find these things. So which of the following can you find this star label? The options given are ceiling fan, electric geysers, tubular fluorescent lamps, tube lights you call, right? Select the correct code, the correct answer using the code given below. 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1, 2, 3. So where do you find? Of course, the answer is that you can find it in all the 3. So it is about star rating. The star rating is about the energy efficiency. Say one should be, right, aware of the things which is happening around you, right? Then another question, I go for it, right? So the answer is D, right? Then another question is general knowledge question. A recent movie title, The Man Who Knew Infinity, is based on the biography of whom? Ramanujam, Chandrasekhar, Bose and V. Raman. So of course, you know, everyone knows it. There was a movie, right? It is about Ramanujam, the Max Wizard, mathematical wizard of India, right? Then there is another question which is most relevant now. So it is also a UPSC question, previous year question paper I taken it from. What is it? Which of the following statement is or correct? Viruses can infect. So of course we have been, right, now much, right, so exposed to the virus. Of course the ubiquitous coronavirus, which is all around the world, right? What the coronavirus can do? Whether it can affect only the person. Of course it can affect animal also, but it may not be the case for all the viruses. But viruses, what are they? So they act as non-living body outside the host, and once they get to the host, they become living. So they exhibit the characteristics of both living and non-living. And what they can infect? Bacteria, fungi, plants. Say, you have heard about animal and the human diseases, but not this thing. But if you go back to the basics, the science book you studied in the earlier school level, it says that bacteria, that is the virus, can affect bacteria too. Which means, of course, you may have heard about the T4 bacteriophage virus, right? So it affects bacteria, it affects fungi, it affects the plants. So the option is 1, 2 and 3. So that is, it is a D. And we go for the another thing, an example for the CSAT paper 2. What the CSAT paper 2 is about? I said there are so many things, comprehension, other things, numerical ability and logical reasoning. See here, it's a question about logical reasoning. Say, in each question, a set of 6 statements is given, followed by 4 answer choices. Each of the answer choices has a combination of 3 statements from the given set of 6 statements. You are required to identify the answer choice in which statements are logically related. This is what the logical reasoning is. So now, right, say one needs to be logically knowledgeable in the sense that, right, say this, if you have enough time, anyone can solve the question paper. But here the thing is that you have to, right, solve this question, 80 questions in a matter of 2 hours. Similarly, you have to solve 100 questions in GS paper 1 in a matter of 2 hours, and that too with a negative marking. And that makes the preparation an essential one. So that is, right, you cannot simply go on, so I am strong in mathematics, I am strong in logical reasoning. Yes, of course, you may, but you have to do it in the prescribed time. So it is speed plus skill that matters. Now, you look into the questions, right? There are 6 statements. Arjun, that is A. Statement A is Arjun is intelligent. Statement B is some smart people are intelligent. Statement C is all intelligent people are bold. D. Not all intelligent people are smart. E. Arjun is bold. F. Arjun is smart. Now, if you have to make a logical sense, right, you go through all the 6 statements. What I logically arrive here is, right, the logical connection should be like C, A and E. So how I arrived at that? C. First take the statement C. All intelligent people are bold. C. Right? Then A. You go to the A. Arjun is intelligent. Say the first statement is all intelligent people are bold. Then Arjun is intelligent. And next logical statement should be Arjun is bold. Why? Because C states that all intelligent people are bold. Arjun is intelligent, therefore he is bold. So CAE. This is a logical statement, right? So if you look at other statements, it may not be logically interrelated. These 3 statements are all logically interrelated. So this is just a sample question. Similarly, you have numerical ability and so many other questions where you just have to score 67 marks here in this paper, which will take you to the first paper where, right, you have to score marks. Then what would be the cutoff? You look at the thing. This is one amazing factor here, right? Or astonishing factor here. Like a competitive examination at an all India level, you might be expecting 200 marks is the mark, right? You'll be expecting something around 160, 170 as the cutoff. But no. You look at the thing, right? For OC, so this is the cutoff for 2018. For 2019, the UPSC is yet to come with the cutoff. It is yet to open it or release its cutoff, right? So as per the records available in the 2018, you see the cutoff marks for the OC candidates is 98 out of 200. Then for the OBC candidates is 96.66. And then for SC it is 84 and for ST it is 83.34, which means that, right, anyone who crosses 50% is definitely going to find a place in the mains. So what I say is that, right, say here, if, right, you are going to clear SIRF or simply 50% of marks would be enough. So I say that makes the examination somewhat trickier. So it is difficult for new aspirants or people without preparation to cross this threshold of 98 marks or 100 marks, right? But what I would say is that with proper preparation, I would say, right, a decent score of 120 can be achieved by anyone if you prepare properly, right? So that means that whatever category you are, right, if you cross 110, then you will be safe within the main zone, right? So this is about the prelims. Then I will come to the second stage, the mains part. Say the mains part, if you look at the thing, it is a written examination. So I say there are 9 papers in this thing, of which there are first 2 qualifying papers which simply will allow you to qualify to the mains, and there are only other 7 papers which is going to be count for the marks. So the qualifying papers are 300 marks each. So paper A is from any one of the Indian language. And paper B is about English. So the level of this paper will be at the metric level. That is, we say 10th standard level, right? You have to, right? So clear these two papers for other papers to be valued. So if you are going to miss out here, of course, right, you cannot qualify. Therefore, the primary condition is that you should qualify in any one of the regional languages. So it from A for Assamese, right, to T for Tamil language. You can choose any regional language which are mentioned in the 8th schedule, right? And paper B is about English. So where you are reading about the simple letter writing, composition, right? So then there are concise writing. So something about the simple grammar and other things. So you have to qualify this. And what will be the qualifying marks? So it will be 100 marks. So you can, if you score 100, that would be enough to qualify for the things. And it is an easy thing. And most probably, so 99% of people will clear the qualifying examination. Then come to the mains part. A paper to be counted for merit. I said there are 7 papers. Let us see what the 7 papers are. Paper 1, it is about essay paper. So one has been asked to write 2 essays of 125 marks each in a span of 3 hours of 1500 words each. So 125 into 2, 250 marks in this paper 1. Then the paper 2, so like the general studies we had in the prelims examination, we have general studies here too. General studies, it is not general knowledge, it is general studies, right? So where we just think we studied at the school level as well as the college level, things which are happening around us. So where we have 4 papers here. General studies 1, or otherwise called by the name paper 2, where in the GS 1 we have Indian heritage, culture, history and geography and something about the society. And paper 3 or GS 2, we have the governance, constitution, polity, social justice and international relations. Say, I will go for a separate seminar on explaining what the mains and prelims and the syllabus wise later. As of now, since it is for a basic level understanding and it is for the freshers, right? So I am just giving a preliminary idea. And the next thing is paper 4 or GS 3, which talks about science and technology, economic development, biodiversity, environment, internal security, external security and disaster management. Then paper 5 or GS4, we have ethics, integrity and aptitude. Of course, so it is about how good you are, how ethically, right, so elevated person you are. So because service to a nation demands a higher level of integrity and honesty. So of course, this is a paper to test you. So there are 5 papers you have seen. And the paper 6 and paper 7 is something which is different from the general studies. Say here we call this paper as optional subjects. What is an optional subjects? Optional is that we opt for. Say actually you may come from different streams, undergraduation or post-graduation. You may be a science student or an art student, or you may be a professional student, engineering student or a medicine student. Say the UPSC will come with a list of optional subjects, so from which you can opt from to take the examination. So here the optional subjects will be like A for anthropology, 2 or agriculture, to Z for zoology. So there are some around 26-27 optionals. And apart from it, one can go for the literature also. So Assamese, Tamil literature, so English literature, as well as, right, so Hindi literature, Kannada literature, so many things you can go for. Say, the good thing or the beauty about this optional subject is that one is not restricted to choose from their own degree stream. Say you may be an engineer, but still you can go for other optionals. Say if you come from an engineering background, it doesn't mean that you have to go for engineering optional. Yeah, of course, you can go for any optional. You can pick political science, you can pick sociology, you can pick public administration, you can go for even Tamil literature, right? So like this. But there are some 26 optionals, right? So which you have to choose it from. So now there are 7 papers, each carrying 250 marks. So 1750 marks in the written test. So totally it is 1750. Now those who qualify this mains will be called for the interview. That's a personality test. And the personality test is a part of the mains examination. And as I said already, 2.7 times of the vacancy will be called for. So now 1750. I said the cutoff for the prelims is around 50%, right? And what would be here? So it is not even 50% here. It is something less than that. You look at the thing. So of course, these are popular optionals, right? Like the well-going optionals in India. So political science, geography, sociology, public administration, psychology, history, and Tamil literature. And of course, and now coming to this, right? So the cutoff, right? So the cutoff is about around 774, I think. Yes, the mains cutoff is around OC. It is 2018 cutoff. 774 for the OC out of 1750. I say 1750. And for OBC, it is 732. And for SC, it is 719, and ST, it is 790, which means that not even 50%. Say 45% of score will take you to the personality test. So which means that you imagine the level or the toughness of the examination. Again I say toughness doesn't mean that, right? So it is so hard. So what is there? That a proper and a strategic preparation will take you there to the mains. So around 50%. Of course, with proper preparation, anyone can easily cross 50%. Now, right? I'll come to this thing. What the main examination is about. So one thing I want to show you here is that, right? Yes, it is taken from the UPSC notification. It talks about the main examination, right? You see that, right? The main examination is intended to assess the overall intellectual traits and depth of understanding of candidates rather than merely the range of their information. Say, what is it? The main examination is intended to assess the overall intellectual traits and depth of understanding the candidates rather than merely the range of the information and memory. So it is not for memory or factual information. It is about the intellectual trait and understanding. So that makes the preparation compulsory and essential. Of course, so I have been to the interview thrice, and each and every time. So I miss by. So first time is by 20 marks, then by 6 marks, then by 2 marks, right? So where I learned one thing. So which is that a proper preparation, and if I had a proper guidance, definitely I would have made in the first or second attempt, right? So the continuous failures we faced made us a self-taught and a self-made tutor. So of course, if you win, you will become a winner, that is a leader, right? And if you lose, you become a guide, of course. Now, I became a guide for the past 15 years, right? So where I know both sides of the story, how to win and why we are not winning. That is, right? Say I have seen the last stage of examination, which means that, right? So what are the things need to be done to win, and what are things not to be done to win. So therefore the main examination, that's why it's called main examination, where the preparation is essential. So main, right? Then we come to the thing in the main examination. It is, again, UPSC says, the questions will be such as to test the candidate's general awareness of a variety of subjects, which will have relevance for a career in civil services. So the questions will be such as to test a candidate's general awareness of a variety of subjects, which will have relevance for a career in civil services. So again, I say, right? So it is the civil servant actually is a civil servant. This examination is meant for a person who is actually a civil servant in training or civil servant in making. So which means that you have to think and act like a civil servant, right, as you prepare. So that's what the thing is about, right? Then I would say the personality test, the final stage. Say 275 marks for the personality test. So here it is not interview, it is personality test, but we colloquially call it as interview. Personality test. So what it consists of? Assessment of personality. Say, the UPSC will be judging your abilities or personality, right? So, in a future time scale. Actually, we are too young to judge, but, right? So, how your personality is being exhibited, both inward as well as outward, for which it has 275 marks. So, many people have scored well in the mains, but have missed in the interview, right? So, which means that, so they are not able to exhibit their personality well. Say, you should give an opportunity for the examiner to explore your personality and say that I am a fit person for this civil service. That is, the personality assessment involves whether this personality suits for the particular job profile. Say, suppose I want to be an IPS officer, right? Then how bold I am, how honest I am, right? Whether my integrity is questionable. So, for which such questions will be put out on the board where they will assess your personality. Say, I would say that, right, the inward and outward. Say, even if one gets by just cut off in the mains, if they present well in the personality test, I would say that definitely they will get into the service. Right? A higher mark in the interview, so there is something about 180 and 200 plus in the interview, means that, right, you are going to be definitely in the list, and combined with the high score in the mains, you will be a topper, right? So where you will get the required, right, so service in the required cadre, right? So like a home cadre or something like that. So where you get that, right? So what are the things which are tested there? Your attitudes, your values, your integrity, your manners, your etiquettes, decision making skills, problem solving skills, etc., etc. So where you see that, right, say the 1750 plus 275, which brings the score to total of 2025, and those who were selected for the service, again based on the 2018, because 2019 is yet to over, right? We say that the last OC candidate to get into the service scored 982 marks. The OBC candidate 938 marks. SC/ST it is 912 marks. So which means that again not even 50%, right? Say here the UPSC has come with certain, right, things, right? So where I say that yes, so we'll see the topper score. That's all India first, right, in the year 16, 17 and 18, because 19 is yet to over 3, right? So from the marks, right, so not by the UPSC, you look at the thing, right? The mains total scored by all India topper 2016 Tina Dabi is 868 marks out of 1750. It is just 49%, not even 50%, right? And in the interview she scored 195. So which puts up the score to 1063. And in that year, right, so this is the all India topper score. So again 2025 is the score, right? So out of 2025 it is just 1063. Just 50 or 52% sees you as an all India topper. And look at the marks he showed in the mains. So essay, GS paper, other things, and her option was political science, right? Then 2017, again a girl topper. She was from Karnataka, right? Nandini. So not, I think she's from Kerala, I think so, right? So Nandini, of course, Karnataka, yes, right? So her score was 927 out of 1750, and she has opted for Kannada literature, right? 927 out of 1750, and the interview she scored 193. So the total score is 1120. So 20 out of 2025. Again here 50 plus, 55% maybe. Then in topper Kanish Kataria. So he was a 2018 topper, and his score is 944, and his option is mathematics. So you got to think, right? He scored heavily in mathematics, so that has scored him 942 in the mains, and in interview his score was 179, right? So it is 1121. Again he is an all India topper. So which makes us clear that one thing is clear here, right? Whoever gets 1100 plus is definitely going to be an all India topper, or even 1050 plus you will be seeing the top 50 ranks or top 10 ranks. So which means that, right, if you plan and prepare accordingly, right, you can easily get into the service. Say, before closing this thing, right, of course, 10 more minutes to go, closing this thing. Yes, I have explained the basics of this examination. Say, other thing I want to say is that here, having seen the 3 stages, prelims, mains, as well as the interview. One thing that is clear for you aspirants is that you have to prepare if you want to get into the service. But preparation needs certain things. You people think that preparation is about hard work, so spending 10 to 12 hours or 14 hours a day without food and water, without much sleep, and you have to do continuously for 2 to 3 years. They say so. No, it is not so. Say, actually, if you plan your preparation in a strategic way, say, actually I cleared my prelims in the very first attempt, right? And the second mains I went to the interview. So which means that without guidance, I say, right? So which means that if you are aware of the system, or if you are aware of what you are and what you want to do, right? Anyone can easily pick up the strategy. Say, what the strategy of preparation is? It is a process of not only learning, but also a process of unlearning. So here, there are certain things I want you to unlearn, right? Some people come with certain half-baked ideas. So it's like, right, the story of, right, 6 blind men, so going towards an elephant and touching the elephant and saying that what they feel, right? To get a holistic picture of what the elephant is, right? So you should, right, so stand apart and see it from a long distance, and you should have a proper eyes to see that. So which means that I say that, right, there are certain myths which are doing around in this field. I say more than 80% of the people who come to this field, or I'm sorry to say this, but I definitely have to say that, right? More than 80% of the people who come to this field are non-serious candidates, or else, right? They do not know the strategy of preparation. And these people have created an image. I will say that it's not an image, it's a mirage, that this exam is so much tougher. And it is not meant for ordinary students. But I will strongly refute this view. And I am going to dispel some of the myths involved in this UPSC preparation. Say, what this myth is about, right? Say, I am going to break the myth, right? Or to call it Maya, illusion, created by unsuccessful candidates. The first myth is that the success ratio of this examination is very, very less. They say that, right? It may range from 0.1 to 0.3%, they say. But going by numerical analysis, it may be true. But if you go deeper, I would say that, right, it is not so. Say, let me see, or let me explain the truth. If you look at the number of people who are going to appear or apply for the examination, first you will take number of people who are going to apply for this examination. So the number of people who are applied will be, say, around 5.5 to 7 lakhs people. So this much of people is going to apply. And then how many people are going to take the examination? Say, it will be hardly 3 lakh people. So the average for the past 5 years I see is that only around 3 lakh people take the examination. And that too, right? How many people prepare? So I am not well preparation. Let's just talk about prepare. Yes, I am aware of the system. I am going to prepare. I would say that it is 1.5 lakh people who will prepare and write. But again, whether it is a serious preparation, I would say definitely it may not be, right? So where I would say that the largest number of UPSC aspirants will be concentrated in Delhi. Now Chennai is emerging as the second hub of preparation. So the second largest from Chennai. Then other metros like Mumbai, so Hyderabad, Bangalore and other areas emerging. But again, if you take the two main centers, Delhi and Chennai, so you can put it around 30 to 40,000 people here, which brings the all India figure to 75,000 people preparing seriously. So it is only 75,000 people who prepare seriously. And I say serious, they are serious about the preparation. But whether they are really smart about their preparation, I do not know. But now you take it 75,000 as it, right? What I said for the qualification for the mains, 1:13. Suppose if the number of vacancy is 1000, right? I would say the number of people for mains is 13,000. So 13,000 you have to make into 13,000 from this 75,000, which means that you see it was 5.5 to 7 lakhs. Now you say I have reduced it to 75,000 to 13,000. It is right hardly 6 times. So you have to make it to 1 out of 6 persons. So 1 out of every 6 person. Again, once you made into the mains. From here, I said 2,700 people are going to be selected, which means right 5 times. So 2,700 to 13, it is 1 out of every 5 person. So now I put 1 out of every 5 person. So 1 by 5 is equal to 20%. This is the pass percentage, which means that out of every 100 people who come into preparation, definitely there is serious preparation and smart preparation, 20% of the people will get into service. Maybe the number may go up if they are consistent and persistent. So I may not lose hope. I will continue trying for 2 or 3 or 4 attempts. Then yes, anybody and everybody who are serious and consistent has a fair chance to get into the service. So the first myth, success ratio of 0.1 to 0.3 is broken. It is a myth created by non-serious candidates, right? And it is unsuccessful candidates, right? So who are fed up with the preparation. Had they known the reality of the examination, they would have not been lost. So I say that yes, anyone with a serious preparation can clear. The second myth, I would say that the syllabus is vast and it is not well defined. Say, many people used to say in a light manner, say for UPSC you have to prepare anything and everything under the sky. Of course, there is some truth in it, but I won't say that there is, right? So you have to prepare anything and everything under the sky. Say, I have shown you the syllabus, right? In the prelims, the UPSC comes with the syllabus. In the mains too, it comes with the syllabus. And the questions were asked from the syllabus and test the general awareness of the people as well as the intellectual traits of the aspirants, which means that, right, the syllabus is well defined, right? So if anyone prepares according to the syllabus, in line with the syllabus, again I would say that it is not, right, a tough one. It is easy. So I would say it is a college exam enlarged. Then the other myth is it needs extraordinary intelligence to clear the examination. Say, I would say that, right, not every intelligent or each and every one of the intelligent aspirant makes into it, right? In fact, intelligence is a curse to this examination. If you are over intelligent or over smart, you tend to question, you tend to overthink, right? So here you need not overthink, just, right, think and write what is being asked for. As I said, it is just a college examination enlarged, which means that, right, any average person can make into the examination. If you look at the final list for the past 5 years, right, yes, the IITians and IIMs have made into it, but there are very few, right? Most of them come from an ordinary degree background, right, and that too from a humanities degree. So which means that, right, an average student can also clear it. In fact, right, 60% of the people who clear are average students, are not extraordinary intelligent student, right? Then the other myth which I say is that you need to study a lot of books, of course. Say, since the syllabus is limited, you have to go within the syllabus. There are books, umpteen number of books available in the markets, like standard books. Then the coaching institutes, so they provide class material. Then, right, the open net sources one has to find out, right? So where I can say, if you are intelligent enough to know the syllabus and search the syllabus in the book, I would say that it is not a lot of books, right? So I would say, right, so sufficient level. So hardly you will find any book to study from cover to cover. You need not study any book from cover to cover. So just here and there, right, and within the prescribed syllabus, and that will min-max strategy, I would say, min-max strategy. minimum input and maximum output. So which means that within the stipulated time you have to prepare what is being asked for and write what is being asked for. That will do. So you need not study many books. Then how many hours to study? So I would say that, right? Yes. If you are going to work, how many hours you work? Yes, I would say 8 hours. Yes. Then the same thing applies here also. Study 8 hours a day. That will do. And take one day off. That is off. Do not study on Sundays, right? So whatever day you have, fix one day for yourself, right? 8 hours of study, 6 hours, 6 days a week will definitely see through getting this examination. Then the source material. Of course, there are empty number of source materials, but for the basic understanding, basic preparation, I would say that, right? The NCERT books, which are at the basic level as well as the higher secondary level, would solve this source. Say 50% of your preparation is over if you are thorough with the NCERT books. I have told my students many number of times. So where, right? NCERT forms the basic, because the questions, if you see that, right, even in the prelims or in the mains, if you say that, right, it tests the basic understanding of the aspirant, which means that, say, one should be thorough in the foundations or fundamentals, right? Yes, NCERT forms the foundation, right? Then the next myth I have to break is it needs a good background or a urban background. So only people studying in urban area can crack the examination. So for which I would definitely say no. The UPSC, right, has released a statistic which says that out of the people getting into service, 62% of the civil service aspirants, 62% of the civil service aspirants come from rural background. They are not from urban background, which means that they had an ordinary schooling background, they had an ordinary college background, and they are from rural areas who made into it. After all, if you are going to become a collector, district magistrate, or right, so superintendent of police, where are you going to work? You are going to work in rural India. Most of the India is still rural, right? Which means that, right? So 62% of the aspirants come from rural areas. Yes, rural areas tops, right? Then who can clear the examination? That is, I would say, about long time, other things, right, etc., etc. Who can clear the examination? I would say anyone with a fire in their, right, heart and spirit, right, so in their thought, who desperately wants to become a civil servant, who puts a goal and sets a goal, right, can clear the examination. All you have to do is that, right, say you have to strictly and scrupulously follow a schedule, right, at least for 1 year, and, right, so do not tend to overthink, do not to study here and there, right, just so stick to your point and make a study. And one thing I forgot to tell you is that another query I used to get a lot of time. Many of the students ask me, sir, I am from a humble rural background and I studied in Tamil medium. Yes, I am coming to that. Now I take the liberty to speak in Tamil. Yes. So since from Chennai, I have to utter in Tamil also, right? தமிழில் படிக்கிறது ஒரு பெரிய விஷயமே இல்லை. தமிழில் படித்தா பாஸ் பண்ண முடியாது அப்படின்லாம் கிடையாது. தமிழில் படிச்சும் பாஸ் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. Of course, there are many of my students, right? So clear. So taking not Tamil literature alone. Say it's not about Tamil literature. It is about writing the examination in Tamil. So the medium itself in Tamil. You can attend the personality test. அதுவும் தமிழ் அட்டெண்ட் பண்ணலாம். அப்படிங்கும்போது say what I would say is that English is after all a language. It is not knowledge. Which means that, right? நீங்கள் எதில் எதுனாலும் சரி, தமிழோ இங்கிலீஷோ நல்லா படிக்க தெரிஞ்சு, நீங்கள் நல்லா செயல்பட தெரிஞ்சு, அஃப்கோர்ஸ் த திங்கிங், உங்கள் சிந்தனை சிறப்பாக இருந்து எழுத்து வடிவம் கரெக்டாக அங்கே போய் இருந்துச்சுன்னா 3 மணி நேரத்தில் நம்ம என்ன எழுதுறோம், என்ன படித்தோம், இதுதான். சரி, அப்போ இங்கே வந்து ஒரு ஃப்ளம்போயான்ட் இங்கிலீஷ் லாங்குவேஜ், எக்ஸ்ட்ராடனரி இன்டர் அதெல்லாம் தேவையில்லை. ஒரு சாதாரண ஒரு கிராமிய பேக்ரவுண்ட்லேருந்து வர ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட்டு, ஆவரேஜாக படித்த ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட்டு இப்போ வந்து அவர் உழைக்கிறதுக்கு ஒரு வெறியோடு இருந்து படிக்க ரெடியாக இருந்தாருன்னா இந்த எக்ஸாமை யார் வேணாலும் கிளியர் பண்ணலாம். ஸோ விச் மீன்ஸ் தட், ரைட், த கன்க்ளூஷன் என்ன சொல்லலாம், எனி ஒரு பர்சன் ஹூ அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் ஹிம்செல்ஃப் அண்ட் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் த சிஸ்டம் அண்ட் ரெடி டு டிரான்ஸ்ஃபர்மேட் ஆர் டிரான்ஸ்ஃபார்ம் ஃப்ரம் ஹியர் டு ஹியர். ஸோ ஒரு ஆஸ்பிரண்ட்லேருந்து ஒரு சிவில் சர்வெண்ட்டாக ஆகிறதுக்கான முயற்சியை போட்டார்னா யார் வேணாலும் கிளியர் பண்ணலாம், ரைட். நீங்கள் ஒரே ஒரு விஷயத்தை மட்டும் மனசு நிறுத்திக்கணும், ரைட். ஸோ வாட் டு அது. ஸோ ஐ வுட் லைக் டு சே, if few things. So to quote, நீங்க ஒரு 5 விஷயம் ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கோங்க. To remember 5 things in the mind. If I want to become a civil servant, right? Or anyone, to be a successful person in your life, it's a common mantra. 5 விஷயம் காலையில எழுந்து வச்சுக்கோங்க. காலையில எழுந்து சொன்னது அந்த 5 விஷயத்தை சொல்லுங்க. I am the best. நான் தான் இருக்கிறதுலே சிறந்தவன். Right? 2. I can do it. என்னால கண்டிப்பா முடியும். 3. God is always with me. Yes. கடவுள் வந்து என்னோட இருக்கிறாரு. சே கடவுள்ங்கிற ஒரு சக்தி தான். எந்த கடவுளாக இருக்கட்டும். எஸ் நல்லது பண்ணா நல்ல விஷயங்கள் கடவுள் எப்போது துணை இருப்பார். 3. Right? 4. Right? I am a winner. நான் வந்து ஜெயிக்க பிறந்தவன். Yes, I am going to win. And 5th, the last thing, right? Today is my day. இது என்னுடைய நாள். நான் நாளைக்கு தள்ளி போடவே மாட்டேன். எதை செஞ்சாலும் இன்னைக்கு செய்வேன். இப்போ கூட பாருங்க, ரைட்? நான் 27 தான் வச்சிருந்தேன் இந்த செமினாரை, ரைட்? பட் நம்ம சூழ்நிலை கம்ப்ளீட் லாக்டவுன் போகும்போது என்ன பண்ண முடியாது. அப்போ என்ன பண்ணியோம், நாளை செய்வதை இன்றைய செய், அதுவும் நன்றைய செய். ஸோ நான் இன்னைக்கு பண்ணிட்டேன், நீங்க இன்னைக்கு பண்ணுங்க. நன்றி. அண்ட் தேங்க்யூ ஃபார் வாட்சிங் த வெபினார், ரைட்? ஃபார் எனி queries, for any information, right? Kindly contact us. We are available. எதில் நீங்கள் காண்டாக்ட் பண்ணலாம்? How to contact us? Through telephone. So actually not the landline, you can reach us through WhatsApp number. So if you go to our website, so www.kamarajIASacademy.com, you can see, right, all the information is there. You can see our phone numbers. So there is WhatsApp number, so you can WhatsApp us, or there is a chatbot, live chatbot, so where you can raise your queries, or you can even leave your information there. Our academic coordinator will reach you, and then you can watch us, right? So live the program, you can watch us live on, of course, recorded one, but again you can catch us on YouTube, Kamaraj IAS Academy channel. You subscribe to that, you'll be getting a lot of videos. Kamaraj IAS Academy is a YouTube channel there. You'll be seeing this video in this channel. Apart from that, we will also be giving the link to the Facebook, right, in our page, Kamaraj IAS Academy Facebook. And then we also have a Telegram channel, public channel, Kamaraj IAS Academy. Search for it, where the daily current affairs are coming, right? So thank you, right? So feel free to reach us. Thank you.